Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to do part 3 in this series for you guys. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go watch them, particularly the one about the squats, because I cover the basics of it. And this one's going to be a little more involved, and this is one of those to where I want to caution safety. And what I mean is that if you don't do this right, if you're not careful, this isn't as safe to do as some of the other things. And I want to make some points very, very clear. Number one, you can't play around with the anchoring on this. If you're going to use bands on a deadlift and you do not have appropriate band pegs bolted to something, if you do not have these things, you have to use more weight than you think that you need. Okay, when you pick plates, you guys can see I have basically 8 45-pound plates set up to anchor these. Because number one, the risk of it sliding is higher. It's not just pulling up, it can pull at an angle. Number two, the deadlift is the heaviest lift. We can all deadlift, well, most of us can deadlift more than we squat. We can deadlift more than we bench. We're dealing with, therefore, heavier band tensions. And to really do band deadlifts, you have to use a lot of weight. We're looking at, usually for speed work, 25% of your max. So if you deadlift 500 pounds, you're going to use around 120 or 130 pounds of band tension for speed work. Your heavy work could be more than that. Sometimes we pull up to 200 pounds of band tension for max work. That's a lot of band tension. These others we were talking about, 50 pounds, 80 pounds, 100 pounds. We're dealing with a lot of band tension. You have to anchor it securely. Number two, because you're dealing with a lot of band tension and a very explosive movement, the benefits are absolutely enormous. For building power, doing banded deadlifts is probably literally one of the best things you can do. It will crush the majority of things you can possibly think of for building explosiveness. It also has a degree of risk because we're in an exercise that if your form is off, your back is in a compromised position potentially. You have to know how to deadlift. If you can't deadlift perfectly, and you attempt to do this with heavy bands, you're going to have problems. This is not for novice lifters. This is not for people who don't know what they're doing. Right? And if you're still working on getting to a 350 deadlift with perfect form, this is not something you need to be doing, unless you're a woman, in which case you might be good. But if you're a guy, no, you don't need to be doing this. Make sure that your deadlift form is perfect. Make sure that you anchor everything perfect. You need to make sure that your grip is strong, because the bar will yank. The bands will yank the bar out of your hand if you're not careful. Like, you better have grip strength, and it's going to be a lot harder than you think it is. But the payoffs in terms of things like upper back development, phenomenal. I attribute this to a large part of the upper back people have seen lately is that your traps, so all your upper back has gotten bigger. It has to do with the dynamic nature of pulling against this from the floor. And then the stretch reflex you get at the top. Like, it's tremendous. But you've got to be careful with it. And so what I mean, if you guys watch me set this up, you're going to notice that I've got a lot of weight here. So let me start setting some of it up. I have the other side already attached. So what I'm using is my actual band pegs, because I don't have small dumbbells. But usually at your gym, you're going to have smaller dumbbells. You can use those to loop the bands through. And what I mean, like, I'm going to take this band peg. What you do, you loop this through here, and sorry, there's going to be noise, guys. That's the nature of living in the city. I'm not doing this at 5 in the morning, so there's going to be background noise. We have to deal with it. You loop it through the 2 plates, right? So this loop is sticking through. You would take your little 5-pound dumbbell, 10-pound dumbbell, whatever, pull it, and then do it like this, right? So you're good to go. Set it on the ground. You would replicate that on the other side. Now, you can do them inside just towards the edges of the plates. You can do them on the outside like this. I personally have spacers I normally use inside there, but you guys aren't going to have those, so that I can put them just by the collars without them slipping over the collars. And that's usually how I do mine, off of my pegs. But I thought I would demonstrate what a lot of you are going to have to do, and you could choose to do it inside, outside. But the main thing is that, again, I'm using 150 pounds of band tension here. You're going to notice the plates can still move with this. And that's with 90 pounds at each corner. 90 pounds at every single corner. So what you want to do, you want to pull them over, get them tight to where there's tension. Pull it till it's tension here, okay? Then what you want to do is test that tension and see if the plates move. So you want to deadlift this up to your deadlift height. so that you see where your plates are spaced to make sure you've got enough weight. I'm going to recommend you do a test pull. Lock it all the way on a deadlift like this. Notice my plates didn't move. Okay, it was good. Now I'm going to do it faster. Okay. Good. And you want just a little bit of tension. You can slide the plates. So when you set the plates up, start with them right up against it and leave slack in it. Get both set and adjust both sides where you want it. I'm going to check the same thing on this side. But I think I have this tight already. This is already taut. So I want to test it. All right, you come down, deadlift it up, test it up. Okay, my plates are stationary, my anchors are stationary, and I want to stress that point. Before you do any pull with a loaded weight, when you have the bands, double check each side. Double check each side for safety. All right, because that is pivotal, that's critical for this. It is, again, potentially dangerous if you don't. Because if one of these things slides and your load shifts, and you have 150 pounds of tension at the lockout, you are risking injury. This needs to be secure. When in doubt, use more weight. Always caution on the side of safety. Safety first, always. And now that I've tested both sides, we now have determined that it's safe. Right? We've tested both sides, we know that it's safe. So then I'm going to put a belt on. Now people are going to laugh and say, why are you going to wear a belt for that light of a weight? Because this is a tremendous amount of lockout explosion potentially. Pulling against 150 pounds, it can pull back down. Do not do these without a belt. I don't care if you deadlift 500 pounds beltless. You guys have seen me do it for reps. Right? You guys have seen me pull up to, what, 575 without a belt? Right? I won't do this without a belt. What does that tell you? It tells you might want to wear a belt for it. So, get on a belt. Make sure your grip is on point. Now I'm just going to use a double overhand because I have no trouble with this with double overhand. You get into position with these and then see how these feel. But I think you guys will see the difference here even doing this. So again, come down. And they're set up just like that. But the thing that you need to remember is that you're not going to have anchor points as easy to be able to wrap these around bands. A lot of times you might be thinking you could wrap this around a band and pull it. It's just going to be too tight. So what you're going to have to do, you're actually going to have to run it through individual plates on each side and put a dumbbell or a pin or something through it to hold them into place. Now I'm going to recommend not just a steel bar. In this case, I've got a handle on the end so I can push it all the way up. In case of dumbbells, you've got dumbbells on the side to keep it from sliding off. Because what you don't want to have happen is whatever pin or anchor you're using to slide out. Because again, you've got to understand how much tension this is. This is a lot of tension. All right, that's 75 pounds a side. And that's pretty normal for banded deadlifts. So again, your anchoring needs to be secure. It needs to be secure. Your form needs to be dialed in. You got to be able to protect your back. Wear a belt when you do this. I don't care that you're a beltless deadlifter. I don't care if you pull with a belt, without a belt in competition. I don't care. Put a belt on when you do this. Trust me on this. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. I won't do this without a belt. What does that tell you? It tells you might want to wear a belt for it. So, get on a belt. Make sure your grip is on point. Now I'm just going to use a double overhand because I have no trouble with this with double overhand. You get into position with these and then see how these feel. But I think you guys will see the difference here even doing this. So again, come down. So again, come down. So again, come down. So again, come down. and they're set up just like that.